So this I want to share with you today. So I will start with Sri Aurobindo's definition of karma. Karma is nothing but the will of the Supreme, of the Spirit, in action. Consequence nothing but the creation of will. So karma is nothing but the will of the Spirit in action, and consequence is nothing but the creation of will. When the will is limited in mind, karma appears as a bondage and a limitation, consequence as a reaction or an imposition. So that's how we know karma. Karma is something which is obstructing us, which is determining us what we have to be when the mind is limited, or when the will is limited in the mind, rather. But when the will of the being is infinite in the spirit, karma and consequence become instead the joy of the creative spirit, the construction of the eternal mechanist, the word and drama of the eternal poet, the harmony of the eternal musician, the play of the eternal child. So this limitation of our will and consciousness is actually determining karma as the, what would we say, as the destiny. Yeah? We call it destiny. It's your karma. Karma means that you were limited in your will and consciousness, and now you have the consequences because you are still limited. But if, suppose, you widen your consciousness and find the infinite of the spirit in your action, then karma changes totally into something altogether different, into the creative action, creative freedom of the spirit. So Sri Aurobindo speaks on action in the Essays on the Gita in these three fundamental definitions. First, he says, all action must be determined from within, because each man has in him something his own, some characteristic principle and inborn power of his nature. That is the efficient power of his spirit that creates the dynamic form of his soul in nature, and to express and perfect it by action. To make it effective in capacity and conduct and life is his work, his true karma. So there is true karma and there is karma which obstructs. The true karma is following your own inner being, yes? Your need for self-development, and the karma which is with limited consciousness and will in nature is obstructing or determining that particular need of your self-development. Second, next, there are broadly four types of nature, each with its characteristic function and ideal rule of work and character, and the type indicates the man's proper field and should trace for him his just circle of function in his outer social existence. These are four varnas, as we know them, or four powers of the Divine Mother, or we speak about them in many different ways. So these four major principles of knowledge, power, delight, and perfection are to be fulfilled in the nature, in the whole cosmos. And nature takes that role. Nature, paraprakriti, the transcendental nature, projects into this nature these four principles to be fulfilled, to be realized. And we, as souls, as psychic beings, when we are born in this nature, we take our niche, to our proper position here in this nature, and try to fulfill it also at the same time. As we try to fulfill ourselves, we try to fulfill the needs of nature. And finally, whatever work a man does, if done accordingly to the law of his being, his inner being, the truth of his nature and his application in the environment in which he is manifested, can be turned towards and made an effective means of can be turned Godwards and made an effective means of spiritual liberation and perfection. And this is something else. It's a combination of both, of inner development and outer development of nature. By the way, many times Sri Aurobindo defines the outer development of nature in a very interesting manner. He says it is kartavyam karma. It is the karma which is to be done. Nature is doing something which is to be done constantly, always. She knows what to do. And we are here somewhat viewing it and trying to figure out what is really going on. But nature is doing this kind of universal yoga, if you will. And that is the basis of the karma yoga of the Gita, that you have to discover that nature does everything through her gunas, 3 gunas. She manifests all the relations, does all the work through you and others in the most efficient way possible, in the most meaningful way possible, in her own setting. So you can imagine, so within this there is a soul with its needs of development and its unique svabhava, its unique inner nature which it wants to manifest in the world as itself and as unique relations with the world. So the first is this unique svabhava, unique nature of our personality which is developing, and our true karma. And then there is this karma, kartavyam karma, the karma which is to be done, the duty which we take with all possible, types and species and characteristics which nature provides for us to play with. And finally, if these two correspond, if the law of his inner being and the truth of his nature correspond, then they can be turned Godwards and made an efficient means of spiritual liberation and perfection. Not only liberation, but perfection in nature. So these 3 are important for us. So Sri Aurobindo was always emphasizing this uniqueness of our purpose in manifestation. So here is his words. All action on the normal level, is determined by the gunas, the action which is to be done, kartavyam karma in Sanskrit. But this is a general law. This is the law of nature. But while the general rule of mind and action is the same for all men, we see too that there is a constant law of variation, and each individual acts not only according to the common laws of the human spirit, mind, will, life, but according to his own nature. Each man fulfills different functions or follows a different bent according to the rule of his own circumstances, capacities, turn, character, powers. What place is to be assigned to this variation, this individual rule of nature in the spiritual discipline? And this is what is important. Because this spark, soul, which is evolving here, developing within the setting of all the duties and dharmas of nature, has its own bent, its own approach to them, and builds its own world within those worlds. So what place does it have in the spiritual discipline? The spiritual nature, which is a very important statement by Sri Aurobindo, which has become this multiple personality in the universe. The multiple personality of the universe is our universal nature. Paraprakriti jiva bhuta. It is from the Gita. So the higher Prakriti becomes in the form of the souls here, is the basic stuff of our existence. All the rest is lower derivation and outer formation from a highest hidden activity of the spirit. And in nature, each of us has a principle and will of our own becoming. Each soul is a force of self-consciousness that formulates an idea of the divine in it and guides by that its action and evolution, its progressive self-finding, its constant varying self-expression, its apparently uncertain but secretly inevitable growth to fullness. That is our svabhava, our own inner nature, our own real nature. That is our truth of being, which is finding now only a constant partial expression in our various becoming in the world. The law of action determined by this svabhava is our right law of self-shaping, functioning, working, our svadharma. Now I will shift to dharma. What is this dharma about? But before going to dharma, let me come back to the something has happened here. Wait a minute with my slides. All right, I will follow dharma. What Sri Aurobindo says on dharma. It's interesting that the slides. Yeah, I have slides. Yes, before I go to dharma, I want to define what is karma, yeah? What is action as such. So he spoke about three types, yes, that the action determined from within, the action determined by the nature, and combination of both. But what is really karma? What is really happening when we do something? What is action? Why do we act? Yeah. What do we actually do when we act? This is actually a very great question, and in the Gita he says that even the wise men are bewildered here because they cannot determine what is action and what is inaction, what is karma and what is akarma, what is doing and what is not doing. It's a very profound question. So root kri, if we look into this Sanskrit etymology, root kri originally means to cut, to carve, to separate the one big body into pieces and to rearrange their relations, redistribute the elements of oneness into a new relation, into a relation which will be cultivating another consciousness and meanings, kind of cultivating an uncultivated one, generating an unregenerated one. So making it more supple, receptive of a new consciousness. This is what Kri does. Doing is always working on the unconscious matter with consciousness and making it more receptive of consciousness, more suitable for its purpose. This is what karma is about. So according to the Veda, karma is the sacrifice, yajna, that which makes it which is making it sacred, things sacred, charged with spirit, organized, charged with the higher consciousness and spiritual presence. It is bridging the inner consciousness with the outer being through activity. And activity can be any. It's not only outer activity. It's activity in the mind, in the vital, in the spirit, in the soul. These are activities which are constantly working for the bridging of the inner and outer consciousness. So this is according to the Veda, ongoing sacrifice in the nature and in our being. According to the Isha Upanishad, action is a means of Lord's manifestation. It is to be done with the freedom of the Lord. The Lord has a freedom from the object of enjoyment, and he, how to say, as it is said, Tena tyaktena bhunjitha. Enjoy all this world by being free from the attachment to the object of enjoyment as the Lord is. The Lord is the master who is free from the attachment to the object of enjoyment. That's why he is the Lord. He is the master because he is free from the object of enjoyment. So he can do with it whatever he wants. So this freedom is a prerequisite for the true action. So being free from the attachment to the object of enjoyment, you should enjoy all the world as the Lord does. Only thus and not otherwise, karma does not stick to man. Evam tvai nanyathetosти na karma lipyate nare. And therefore does not create any consequences, does not bind to a particular form of reaction. So only in this way, karma, when it is done with the consciousness fully awakened from within, then these two, the kartavyam karma of the nature and the karma, true karma of the soul, can join together, and there will be no obstacle, there will be no consequence or reaction which will be hindering our development or the development of nature. It is a smooth, sunlit path forward. Yes. So, and of course, according to the Gita, any action, as the Gita says, is the means of self-realization. Sarvam karma khilam partha jnane parisamapyate. All karma, all action in this world, without remainder, turning into the knowledge experience. It is for the sake of realization of the divine in the manifestation. So Gita views karma in the same way as the Veda and in the same way as the Upanishads. This is important because this traditional lineage from the Veda to Upanishads to the Gita maintains the same view on karma. Karma as the sacrifice. So if there are three types of karma as we defined, and there are three types of dharma. There is Swadharma, individual dharma, action done in connection with Svabhava, inner nature, following a need for inner development of individual soul. There is dharma, social dharma, when action done in the world in accordance with the four major powers through which nature manifests the divine in the universe: knowledge, power, delight, and perfection. These four powers, four Mahashaktis, Sat, Chit, Ananda, and Vijnana. This transcendental nature is projected into our nature and creates the types, the forms, the species in which we embody and work. And there is the third one, is Sanatana Dharma, the eternal Dharma, that leads to the discovery of the divine, in the inner and outer being as one supreme, manifesting the divine in the world and in oneself. So you can see these three types of karma and three types of dharma are totally corresponding. Dharma is supporting karma, right? In that particular formation or work. So dharma is another very interesting word from root dhri, to hold on to. And Sri Aurobindo gives his definition of dharma, which will conclude this kind of part of my presentation. Dharma is both that which we hold to and that which holds together our inner and outer activities. In its primary sense, it means a fundamental law of our nature which secretly conditions all our activities. And in this sense, each being, type, species, individual, group has its own dharma. There is certain consciousness which holds those activities together as meaningful, as one body, and that is dharma. Secondly, there is the divine nature which has to develop and manifest in us, that is our soul. And in this sense, dharma is the law of the inner workings by which that grows in our being. The divine grows in our being by this particular swadharma. And thirdly, there is the law by which we govern our outgoing thought and action and our relations with each other so as to help best both our own growth, inner growth, our soul, and that of the human race towards the divine ideal. And this is Sanatana Dharma. So we have three dharmas. Yes, we have dharma, social as duty, with types which nature develops. We have the swadharma, the particular power which we inherited from the divine as our soul is evolving and developing and possessing more and more the instruments of its knowledge here in the world. And then there is Sanatana Dharma, where these two are unified and harmonized and work together when the individual will is surrendered to the universal will, and there is no more distinction between the two. I think I will stop here. I would love to engage more with other discussions, and I have more things to speak, but shall we stop here? Kind of quite a lot. I have also a few points for you to take with you, which I discovered, the conclusion. But before I go to the conclusion, most probably it would be nice to engage into the discussion.
Thank you, Vladimir. Do you want to Perfect. And anyone having questions, again, put in the Q&A box or the chat box. I'll start the question and answer period, Vladimir. There was so much that was shared there, and so many different insights that that I got for the first time as a result of the slides and the quotes. The question that I kept coming back to is, of these three types of dharma, Swadharma, Dharma, and Sanata Dharma. How does this play out in the workplace? How does this play out in somebody's profession or job? What does this look like in the work environment? And how can a culture or an environment be created that facilitates and promotes this process? Could you maybe speak to that,
Right.
please?
Yes. Yes, when we speak about professional life, and that is kartavyam karma, yes. So there's a particular dharma. Let us imagine a particular dharma organism of that organization, yeah, which wants to produce certain activities or certain result products. And those products are to be produced in time because they are socially engaged and they are needed for social development. You know. They are in the market, so to say. Market is a bigger network of the social interrelation. So for that purpose, it's absolutely fitting into kartavyam karma, yes, the work which is to be done. And here the workers are treated as the most efficient workers are the best. Nobody cares about their svabhava, swadharma, what they want to develop, because actually it's like the tapestry of nature, of vast organism which is to be fulfilled, and it has its purpose and task. So there, everybody is treated as the worker or as the robot, let us say, machinery, as the part of that machinery, as Lenin was saying once for the communistic society, socialistic, everybody is the bolt and the screw in the machinery. So we are bolts and screws. We are nothing more than that in this particular view. But if we introduce swadharmic view, swabhavic view, we may gain new qualities in the work environment. We will get more intuition, insights, more kind of interesting ideas for the development of the very project. You know? The very organization will have some intuitional kind of input, insights. Some organizations already understood this and they started to invite non-professionals into their professional environment, work environment, to play with things like, for example, the most advanced, the most developed factory of glass production in London is inviting once a year non-professionals to play with glass. And so they give them everything to play with and see whatever they come with. They just spoil everything, doesn't matter. But they bring new ideas, new forms, new approaches to how to deal with matter, how to create new forms, because they do not have any particular restriction and any particular, what do you call it, dharmic obligation to produce the product and to sell it. So they can play with it and find new ways of dealing with material. And those insights are used by the factory later in the production. And they are becoming more and more efficient and more valuable on the market. So this is swabhavik introduction into the organization, which is quite interesting. By the way, Auroville had to be that place. The place of where all the productive units should be the units also for self-development. They should not be viewed only in terms of production, but also of the self-production, of the self-discovery of the people who are working there. They will have to find new means, new ways of knowing themselves through that activity. And that had to go hand in hand with the dharma of the nature producing products for its own need. Yeah? So this is quite interesting. It's a very complex question, very interesting question, actually. Does it make sense, or I'm carried away?
That absolutely. I see, Hayden, you have a question there. You can just open your mic and ask Vladimir directly if you'd like, and then we'll go to a couple of questions that people have. Maybe it's not working. So we can just, oh, there we go. Go ahead, Hayden.
Vladimir, the question is, could you speak to the need of the individual to pursue one's own swabdhamma versus the difficulties that the individual faces in doing work that is contrary to those inner values?
Right, absolutely. It's not even so much, yes, invalues is just another word. It is his particular need for self-development. They can be kind of less valuable for others, but for him, they are very important in that moment, yeah, when he works. And there, Gita says very interesting thing, that better to follow one's own dharma, yeah, even if it is leading to very small results or no results, or even to destruction, then somebody else's dharma, that means nature's dharma. I may want to be head of the company, and be millionaire, but it's not my dharma. I cannot fulfill myself. So better to follow one's own, which leads to perdition and destruction, than to follow somebody else's dharma, which leads to success. And there is a reason for it, because it generates this fear within of inadequacy of your own life. We all feel this fear when we are misplaced in the environment, when we are not in our place, when we are doing not our work. And we totally are fearless and natural when we are doing our work. We don't even feel that it is work. It's joy. It's a sheer joy when it is in our own field, yeah? When it is matching with our svabhava. But when it is not, then we are stressed, we are like slaves. We have to do something which is not ours for some other sake, for kartavyam karma, for the work to be done. Yeah? And that is the issue. Yeah.
Thank you.
Well, you can
also a
say
number of
your thoughts if you want. Yeah, most probably you have some thoughts on it. Please share, Hayden.
No, I thank you very much. That was great.
Okay.
Thank you.
there's a number of questions there. Vladimir, would you like me to read them out, or would you like to read
I
them?
can read them out also.
Okay.
So, Chad asking, in your slide, it's said karma does not stick to man and therefore does not create consequences. I've always viewed this as not so much a consequence, but a hidden hand guiding us back to the correct path. Is this the correct way you come? Very nice. I like your intuition. Yes. It's something like consequence means you have to face it again to solve the issue. Yeah? Otherwise, why should you face it again if there would be no reason for it? The reason is that you didn't solve it before. Now look at it again, and that's why we face the same issues in our life until we solve them. Yes. Yes, there is more. In the Gita, the final word is sarva dharman parityajya. Yes, this is beautiful. But it does not say sarva karman parityajya. Could you explain? Sarva dharman parityajya. This is the Sanatana Dharma. Now, what at the end of the whole Gita, Krishna says, it's the last verse, 18th chapter at the end. This is the end of the Gita. And this is an amazing thing because it says, I don't have it, attention here. Sarvam dharman parityajya, follow only me, says the Supreme. What does it mean? Leave behind all the dharmas, all the formations which nature created as kartavyam karma, as the karma to be done, the work to be done by nature in order to realize the divine. But you, as the soul, can give your will to the me, Supreme, and by that you can fulfill all the dharmas. You don't need to follow the dharmas of the nature anymore, because they are here to fulfill me, the Supreme. So you can, through your own inner being, connect to me, the Supreme, and leave all dharmas be, because they will be fulfilled by that anyhow. And this is something important because Sri Aurobindo emphasizes this again and again in the essays on the Gita and in the synthesis, that exactly this inner development, this svabhava, svadharma, is so essential for our self-development and manifestation of the divine. Without this spark and its development and its unique characteristics and works in nature, that realization of the divine will be impossible. Because there was from the beginning the secret, so to say, reason of manifestation. The Supreme wanted to be many. He created all the layout, all the dharmas, all the possible manifestations through nature in the universal way, but it is populated by the souls, and these souls develop unique relations with that environment. And those uniquenesses of the souls are actually that supreme unique one who wanted to be many. And everything in this world, in the world of manifestation, in the physical world, is uniquely individualized. It is because of him, the Supreme alone, who is behind. And this individualization is the way of his manifestation. Though nature does its work and receives all these souls into its environment and invites them and gives them all the resources they need for self-development, all the forms and types and, unique places. Take it and develop, work it out. So this is in the mundane language, the vision. Yeah? So you are right. Abhinav says, in the Gita, the final word is Sara. Yes, I read this. Then, what is the best way of dealing with difficulties at work? First, failure to even survive in one's chosen career, difficult colleagues, bullying, and so on. I didn't get the question. What is the best way of dealing with difficulties at work? First, failure to even survive in one's chosen career. Oh, you mean failure in a sense that you fail as self-development for the sake of career. Yeah, this is the choice. We have always two choices. Did you notice in all our life? We are dealing with two choices. One is either career or you decide. Because there is a mismatch. But if there is a match, you are very lucky one. Because if you are in the environment which is conducive to your self-development, then there is no issue at all. Yeah? But usually because of money issue, because you have to earn money, your living to survive, and so you find the job, and whatever the job recommends, whatever kartavyam karma is given, you have to do it as a slave, there is a contradiction. Do we see this contradiction? No? Kartavyam karma, this is something very interesting. The work is to be done anyhow by nature. So when we are engaged with nature, we must do it. But we can do it in our unique way or in the way which is not for us fitting for our self-development. Yeah? So if it is not fitting, we feel like slaves. Yeah? If it fits, we feel like the lords. That's the whole difference. Yeah? You want to be Isha, the Lord, or Anisha, slave. You want to be a master of your environment, which helps you to develop yourself, or you're just developing environment without developing yourself, or very little developing yourself, and you feel depressed and down, but then you have a compensation for that labor, for that heavy labor is money. So you get money, go to the supermarket and enjoy yourself, knock yourself out, and be happy then. So this is what people agreed to do they agreed to compensate their non-self-development by the means of consumerism and the markets, by Kartavyam karma. And this is not going anywhere further, so we need to revisit this ideal and make karma work blissful for us, rather than a curse of labor, as it was in the Bible, that Adam and Eve were cursed to earn their bread in sweat and blood. Yes, Abhinav is raising his hand. Please, Abhinav, you can join the panel and can make your observations.
Vladimir, too, I'll just maybe comment on this last point also that, it seems that we all at times, if not most of the time, may feel as though we are not in the right work environment that kind of resonates with our swabhava, with our true inner self and aim and purpose in this life. And sometimes we may feel there is not a choice. Circumstances may have it that at least for a time being, that there isn't that option for a number of reasons. But, I go back to something that Amita said last time, which is, what we can always fall back on in those situations is our attitude towards our work. And that attitude being one of what can we learn? We're in this situation. I'm in an accounting department. I'm ticking and tying debits and credits. It doesn't resonate with my swabhava. I'm kind of here at least for the time being. Is there something that I can learn from this? Is there a different way of doing it? Is there a way, as you said previously, Vladimir, of at least being detached from it, right? Not creating karma from it. So is there a growth that can happen regardless in that environment and for that time being? So I think that attitude is really important because we're all going to have times in our life that we don't feel that our job and our work environment resonates with our inner being. But there is always that maybe detachment and or that right attitude that we can gain from. So I just wanted to bring that forward.
Absolutely, you're very right. I was just laying out the foundation of thinking, why we have this contradiction, yes? What is really happening to highlight that nature does Kartavyam karma in the way she has to do it. Yeah, she provides all the means. And because we are placed into the environment where our self-development is kind of blocked by someone or by some will or by somebody, and we are not able to do it kind of openly, sincerely, clearly, so we have to do it hiddenly then. We have to make our offering inwardly. We have to change the attitude. That's what we are doing to adjust to the... There is no open environment in which you can be yourself. Mother wanted to build this environment in Auroville. She wanted to build a city where people will relate through consciousness without need of some, intermediary costs, money, name, fame, you name it, family. So all that had to be left behind. Nobody had to have two names in Auroville, only one name. I was only Vladimir. There was no my family name, nothing else. There is no doctor, there is no need of it. There is a being here in front of you whom you can see, talk to, understand. You don't need to relate to the doctor Vladimir, don't need to relate to Yatsenko, to Ukrainian Vladimir. There is nothing of the kind. There is me, and there is the matter of truth, the supreme truth. This is what she wanted to create. But how far we are really ready for this, yes. So we will have to do as you said, yes. We will be in the environment all the time, which will be questioning our attitude, and we will have to find something, the way out, yes, to offer our inner being to the higher being. Yes, Abhinav, you wanted to say?
Yeah. Kartavyam karma is not fixed. As our consciousness expands or changes, Kartavyam karma changes, I believe.
Absolutely, absolutely.
And that is probably one of the reasons how the ascetic tradition developed in India. People felt that, okay, family life is not for me, I had to do something different. That could be one of the motivation. That is one point. Second point is in the question I asked about Sarva Dharman Parityajya, and I was making another comment that it doesn't say Sarva Karman Parityajya. So I wanted your comment on that one, because even if Krishna says Sarva Dharman Parityajya, what kind of karma continues to be performed, should be performed, and what is the source of that karma? If Sarva Dharman is Parityajya, what is the source of that karma you continue to perform? So I wanted your comment on that one.
Right. What do you have to offer? Please offer your solution first. And then
I believe in it. Krishna hints in the previous stanza, which says Man Mana Bhava Mad Bhakta Madhyajim. It kind of hints the what kind of karma you should be doing, in some sense.
Right. So the whole kind of my presentation was about that we have to achieve the divine manifestation, and the nature is doing this yoga, universal yoga. Even if suppose we would not do much, as human beings, nature would actually succeed, will succeed in the future in this supreme yoga, but it will take millennia or billions of years. Yes? It is very slow development, but she's still moving in this right direction. So to speed it up and to make it more efficient, she herself manifested these sparks, these, intermediaries, yajamanas of the Supreme here, our souls, who are kind of engaged with her environment, are pushing it forward, making it faster, make it more efficient, more vivid. So there comes a time where this becomes more prominent, visible. It's a time today, we can see it, subjective age. We enter into the subjective age. But what your question was, why Sarva Dharman? Because dharmas are the formations of nature as the institutions, let us say, or duties, or the possibilities for the soul's development. So I am entering and I am becoming a father. It's dharma of the father. I became a son. I am dharma of the son, of the citizen, of this, of that. There are so many dharmas of the human being. The human being in war, soldier, and the human being in peace and meditation. These are all dharmic formations which are becoming means for self-development and manifestation of the Supreme. But when you connect the Supreme directly, those are becoming less important or kind of secondary, so to say. That's why Sarvan Dharman Parityajya. Leave all those kind of guidelines behind, because I am here with you now. And don't worry, I will not leave you. You will go through all the difficulties now with me, because I am activating through your soul my presence. This is the highest Sanatana Dharma, actually, the crown of the whole Gita. After everything what was said, suddenly this kind of conclusion. First you follow your dharma as a kshatriya, go and fight, and now at the end leave it. Leave it to me. Come to me and everything will be done as it should be done. Because Krishna is actually even free from dharmas, from all dharmas. That's why we see him so mischievous in Mahabharata. Yes, he is always doing something else, because dharmas are the means. They are instrumental to this, but not the central, the quintessential for the realization.
Makes me think too, Vladimir, if this isn't the same as just, surrendering your personal will to the divine will, which is what you started out with in speaking about the will of the being infinite, when in the spirit. And going back to the Gita, realizing that you are not the doer. And at that point, you simply become the instrument of the divine. And in that capacity, no karma is being created, if you will.
Right, absolutely. No consequences, no bondage, no determination, no bringing back to the same problem to solve, because once you do, it is solved. Every time solved, you don't even feel that anything was done. As Sri Aurobindo says, the highest form of action, if you can imagine that you sit on the top of the world and do many things in the world, rule things, change things in the world, and at the same time you feel that you do nothing, this is the way. You do nothing because it is all done by the Supreme. You gave your will and it is done by some agency, some being here. Through nature, his own means, his own power, it is being manifested. Only we do not have that consciousness yet. Yeah, so we are kind of in a narrow form trying to widen the scope and see better. But what I wanted to make us to take us.
There is just one more question, if you
Oh yeah.
if you want to take that, and then.
Okay, a magician's formulas have made matters laws, and while they last, all things by them are bound. Yeah. But the Spirit's consent is needed for each act, and freedom walks in the same pace with law. All here can change if the magician choose. Nice, lovely.
Yes, that wasn't a question, but
No, it was
comment.
a very poetic kind of beautiful conclusion. What I wanted us to take with us after this presentation and think over, I made few points here. That kartavyam karma, or duty, about which we speak, or at least Indian tradition speaks all the time, duty, social duty. You have to fulfill your duty. This is kartavyam karma, or work by nature, which is done by the gunas. Gunas, the whole jnana kanda of the Gita is about how the gunas are making it possible. So realizing that nature does all the work actually liberates the Purusha as a witness. This is the secret of karma yoga. You have to see that all kartavyam karma, why kartavyam karma? Why not to attach oneself to the fruit of action? Because then you are bound with nature and you are not distinguishing yourself from nature. But once you see that everything is done by nature so wisely, so perfectly, because she is the force of the divine, then you are actually liberating some part in you which views it how it is being done. And that is the Purusha, separation of Purusha from Prakriti. This is karma yoga. You can do it through action. You don't need to leave action, because only you have to view it differently. You have to remove the desire of the fruit of action. Now, the second point which I wanted us to take from this presentation is that nature as para and apara prakriti is the worker in both ways. She is power, Purusha is consciousness. They are both like chit shakti, chit tapas, if you will. She manifests all what he views. He delegates his consciousness to her, and because of this delegation of his view, his witness, she can perform dharmically action. She generates meaningful connections between different entities in such a way that they are held together. This holding togetherness, this togetherness of the world and moving in time together, which is much more complicated and difficult, is done because of his constant attention to her. By his consciousness, his one consciousness is present in all activities, which provides for her the ground of doing things. Then, nature does yoga of the Supreme. This we have to understand. It's not just nature. But with individualization, and this I already said, of our souls involved in this work, it is done much faster and much more efficiently. So she evolved to that level where she starts using us, our individualization, for her moving forward. Second, money is a power that utilizes nature's energies for kartavyam karma. It is the power which is doing what nature wants to do, what nature must do. Nature took this power and started to use it for this purpose. But it is a motivation of nature and not the soul. So there will be a contradiction. This contradiction comes with awareness of soul more and more. And money started somehow, this force started to be a hindrance, a blockage for the soul self-development. So here we have it, kartavyam karma of nature and need of self-development, which is rising, and they are in contradiction. We'll have to look at this contradiction. Mother wanted to remove it in Auroville, never happened, but she wanted. Contradiction between disinterestedness and enthusiasm is reconciled only when the true inner being is discovered. So we have always this question, how come, and somebody asked Amita also, how come that you have to be disinterested on one side and then you have to be very interested in your work? Shri Krishna speaks in his, cryptic language, you have the right for the work, but not for its fruit. But it's actually not really very clear. But it is becoming clear when there is a freedom, when the soul can freely manifest in action, then motivation is different. It is not trigunic motivation. It's not motivation of kartavyam karma anymore. It's a different motivation of the soul development. And that enthusiasm is welcome, but not other enthusiasm. Not enthusiasm from greed, lust, power over others, fame, name, you name it. There are many enthusiasms in nature. Those aspirations to achieve, succeed, but what is the motivation? Where it is coming from? If interest comes from self-finding, self-development, a manifestation of the divine, then things change, and this enthusiasm is most welcome. These few things I wanted us to take with us after this presentation. And thank you for being here and listening. And if you want to say a few things, say Hayden or Abhinav or Radhe, please do. It's a mouthful already.
Thank you, Vladimir, so much. I think, again, there was just, at least for me personally, some different perspectives that you brought out that I didn't have before about nature and also about Swabhava. So very, very thoughtful discussion and presentation. And we thank you. And Abhinav, thank you for coming over, and Hayden for continuing to join us. Did you have a comment, Abhinav?
Yes. These two words, karma and dharma, are so profound that every time I listen somebody's explanation, there is always a new insight. So thank you, Vladimir, for, even though it was a short presentation, I got something new. So appreciate very much.
Thank you, Benam. Yes. Yeah. There's always something to learn. I believe the same way. Every time you look into it, you can't believe you just didn't see that bit so important, so holistic, so well arranged by the divine.
Thank you. Thank you again, Vladimir, and thank everyone for attending. We'll see you next Saturday, hopefully. Take care. Namaste.